is.
Okay, it is now time for broadcasting.
We call this meeting to order the Pulaski County Board of Election Commissioners. It's Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. All right, our first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. And we will have our interim director, Amanda Dickens, lead us voluntarily.
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Amanda. All right, our second item on the agenda is the approval of previous meeting minutes. We have two sets. Let's look at the first one. It is September 7th. I'll just shut that door for just a second. You can never be a news person because I can't project my voice that well. Let's see here. All right. Anyone have any changes or amendments to the September 7th meeting minutes?
I don't see any changes, and if this is the proper time, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of September 7th.
That's a proper motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion's approved. The second set of meeting minutes is from September 10th, 2021. Are there any questions or changes?
I see no changes necessary, and if the time is right, I would make a motion that we approve the minutes of September 10th.
That's a proper motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 I'll abstain since I wasn't here.
Okay. There are two ayes, and that's all we need. So the motion is passed. Meeting minutes from September 10th, 2021 are approved. All right. The next item on the agenda is the September 14th, 2021 Little Rock Special Election Review and Canvass Absentee Ballots. Amanda.
Okay, so we have 17 absentee ballots that we need you to review.
I'm sorry, let me stop you. 17?
17.
17.
17.
Okay. And I'm sure there are others that were processed today?
Yes.
Okay. How many were those?
I'll have to get you the exact number of those. It's 140
Okay.
something.
All right.
These are the irregulars that need to be reviewed, and they're kind of categorized there.
Okay.
The first one is date of birth issue.
Okay.
We have one with info missing off of the voter statement. We have one that's the voter statement's not signed.
Okay.
We have 3 voter statement and ID is missing, and
Okay.
then 11 just ID missing.
Okay. So we have a new commissioner. Would you like to go over this process with the commissioner, or would you like me to go over this process with the commissioner? How would you like to address this?
You feel free to go over the process.
Okay. So Commissioner Scott, are you familiar with the law on absentee canvassing?
Some degree.
Okay. What is your familiarity?
Well, as to the comparing of,
Compare it correctly.
right, to compare the data on the voter registration or the change form against the data and signatures on the absentee ballot materials.
So you're comparing the voter application, to the absentee application to the voter statement. So could you explain to Commissioner Scott what the green form is?
The green form is used internally by our absentee poll workers. So if they come across something that's not right or doesn't match, or they're missing information, or the voter statement or the ID, Then they complete that green form, attach it on top of the absentee envelope, and then those are set aside for commission review.
Okay.
So, I apologize, I thought I had turned that down already.
So there'll be a form for each one of these?
Yes, there'll be a green form on top of each one.
Right. So starting this week, there was canvassing going on. We have our absentee clerks. They're taking the outer envelope, and I'm sure you're probably familiar with that process, okay? You don't open the inner envelope until 8:30 a.m. election day. All right, so this morning, starting at 8:30 a.m., they can start going through the inner envelope and seeing if, perhaps a voter statement was accidentally stuck inside the inner envelope. We will count that. The copy of the ID could have been stuck in that inner envelope. That will be counted. So all of those that will be counted, they're going to be put aside to be counted. We're being sent those that there are questions about that are marked as do not count. We're reviewing those. So that's kind of the process. That's what we're here today. So we need to establish a more formalized process of how we as a commission, our board, will be doing this. However, we kind of have an issue because we're waiting on a letter of instruction of how this will be done. We have not received it. So let's kind of come up with how we want to do it tonight. All right? How we think the best way to do this tonight, because we all three need to have, typically we all three have eyes on each one. We each take some, we make a determination, and we put a yes and no category, yes and no pile. And we give it to the person right, person left. All three of us have eyes on it. Now we typically all agree on every single one. I think there's only been one time on one ballot that we disagreed on. And then we made a determination and voted and made that determination on how to count that ballot. So the question is, how do you want to approach this? I would like a consensus.
Okay, well, I would say that when you tried to say this, I don't think it's quite clear. We three make a decision on whether that ballot shall be counted or not. That is our function. The poll workers opened and did the compare, and the ones that were fine have been dealt with and tabulated. These are ones with problems, and it's our job to see the problem and decide whether it shall be counted or not. And the green sheet tells us what they have found is wrong, and then I think we three need to handle each one of them before we make a decision as we go forward. And rather than batch them and get them all spread around, which was, I thought, somewhat of a problem in the last big cycle. So it just needs to be a consensus on each individual ballot that we're looking at.
Can I ask you exactly what you mean there? You mean we should go through them, all of them once, and then hand the next to the next?
I think so. I think we have to make a decision on each individual one, and there are not that many there. It shouldn't take that long. I mean, it either is eligible to be tabulated or it isn't. And, there's no wiggle room. I mean, what the law says is the law. And the poll workers that did the canvass, they can't make that decision. They bring that to us to make that decision.
So I don't have a problem with that. When we have a large volume, that's just not ideal. When we had thousands of absentees to canvass, it was more efficient to take, and all three of us looked at them, came up with our what we thought, and then we came to a consensus as a body because we have no individual power to make a determination. So I have no problem with that. I think that's a good idea to go through each one, review one by one, make a determination, and we can definitely do it that way. All right. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to add in that the clerk's office notified us they do have more ballots over there that they received this afternoon. So they are currently in the process of being canvassed.
They were in mail.
Right. They went to the post office and retrieved those.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
And I don't think we need to announce any names in our process. It's just the cause or the reason and then the decision. Does that sound appropriate, Adam?
So I'm reading the statute right now, and the process that the statute instructs, it doesn't really distinguish between which election official is doing the review. It specifies that, I'm going to skip ahead, so for reference, and I know nobody can hear me on the camera, but 75416 is the statute I'm looking at. It's Part B. In Part B, 1E, it says, as each outer envelope is opened and the name of the voter is read, the election official for the absentee box shall list the name of the voter precinct. That work should have already been accomplished by the election officials that canvassed it the first time. But the instruction is still the same. And in F, it goes through, after the election official reads aloud from the statement, the official shall compare the name, address, date of birth, and signature of the voter's absentee application with the voter's statement. And for first-time voters who are registered by mail, the first-time voter's identification document, unless the voter previously provided that information at the time of voting. Previously provided identification at the time of mailing the voter registration application. So in F1, it specifies election official. In F2, it specifies the County Board of Election Commissioners. So it says if the County Board of Election Commissioners determines that the absentee application and the voter statement do not compare as to name, residential voting address, date of birth, and signature, it shall not be counted. So y'all are the only ones who can determine it shall not be counted. The election officials that include this body are authorized to go through the first part of the process, which is the comparison. I would recommend announcing the name. I think it being consistent with the election officials that came before you in the process is probably more advisable, because it's a more strict application of the statute.
So we're essentially going to do what the canvassers have already done, but make this final decision collectively. I think that's fine. And Chairwoman Starr, if we do it where you pass one out like that, and like I look at it and agree that it shouldn't be counted, do I make a sticky note on it to pass it to the next person, or how are we going to do that?
I thought you wanted us to do one at a time.
Well, I think that would solve that if we did one at a time.
Yeah, we're just gonna do one at a time. Amanda, where's the precinct information on here?
It should be on the label that the voter registration office produced.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's been a minute. All right. All right.
23 came over.
So
We've
read it
had
out loud
23.
first before we do anything else.
Read it out loud and then begin to compare name, address, date of birth.
Okay.
Chairwoman Starr, if I may, Jody just came in and let me know they retrieved 23 additional ballots from the clerk's office.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Catherine Simmons, precinct 85. dates mailed out? Remember the date?
I don't remember the exact date. I have to get my calendar.
What was the question?
What date they were mailed out?
It should be postmarked on the envelope.
I was trying to think when they first one started.
It was the, what is it, 45 days before, 46 days?
Mm-hmm. It's around the first week of August somewhere. I can go grab my calendar. if
I
you
know,
like.
I'm just making sure.
I have a lot of dates going through my head right now.
I know we just would have had a uniform voter statement at that time.
They are not uniform yet, I don't think. Oh, but
No,
I guess it would,
not yet.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So what was the issue on this one?
Oh, nothing, I was just curious.
I want to know what was the issue of just
Oh, no one went through and
use
changed.
current year for birthday.
No one marked out the option voter verification statements. On
But the
voters.
question on this one is it,
No, I know, but on the voter statements, no one marked through that.
I see that.
Yeah, I hope that becomes not an issue.
It shouldn't be because that's not allowed any longer.
I know, but I think that there was,
Well, the canvassers made that comment
did they?
when they were doing the canvass, so they were aware of that, and that shouldn't be an issue. This is a sad one.
It is.
Because they use their date of birth
Yes.
this year, and the date and month are
In the
correct.
uniform voter statement's gonna fix that. We should have been ready in time.
But unfortunately, and Adam, you can concur or not, let us know that if that is not correct, it shall not be counted.
So the law says if the absentee application and the statement do not compare, and there is a distinction between a comparison and an exact match. So I think that you have to approach it from the position of if you believe that the person who submitted the ballot is not the registered voter based on the information they supplied, or is not the person that applied for the absentee application, which they should be one and the same, then you disqualify and do not count it. But if they compare, and I don't think the word compare requires a precision of, it's a difficult question, I'll just say that, I'll acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But I think that you can use the tools at your disposal to make the best determination possible.
What does the board say?
Under the law, they do not compare. The date of birth does not compare to the information that's supplied in the voter statement. And
That's
that
what I
is-
saw.
And that is the direction of the state.
But what the
It's
county
not a
attorney said,
belief.
we
It's
have
not a
some.
belief of the voter,
Say again?
it's not a belief, under the law, the date of birth does not compare to the information that's provided in the application.
Just for the sake of clarity, what, in this instance, what information doesn't match?
It does not match the information on the voter statement.
No, which piece of information is
The
it?
date of birth,
Which piece of the date of birth?
all of it.
None of it, date,
The current year was entered, the current date was entered, not the date of birth.
the
So there's
date
no date of
was
birth.
It's
submitted.
completely not.
Okay.
The date of birth.
then I would agree.
This is, yeah,
Yes.
not a, yeah.
Do you want me to put them back together when we make that decision and just to expedite things?
And I'll add, I think that's an unfortunate error. I mean, I don't know if the form was misunderstood by the voter, but I think that's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
These are a little tougher. You would call that. Okay, so,
Can I ask another question? Is the voter's identification did they
No.
provide identification in that?
it does not come into play.
Okay.
But they did
Now,
tonight.
my question is whether they provided it or not.
Yes, yes. That was not one of the issues. Oh, that was not one, it was only date of birth issue. That does not come into play. It is not, and in the law, it does not come into play.
Well, the date of birth is correct except for the year. I mean, so it's just a year, just FYI.
So the day and month is correct, the year was listed incorrectly?
Right.
That's correct?
I-
My
I
understanding.
just looked at it,
It's-
the ID and the voter statement. Yeah, May 27th.
My question is what they listed on the voter statement versus the absentee application. The only discrepancy is the year of
The
the
year.
voter's birth. And one listed this year as opposed to their actual year.
2021
of
as our
birth.
actual date of birth.
Well, if they were born in 2021, they wouldn't be a qualified elector.
Correct.
So I think that I don't think it's so cut and dry as to say there's not an exact comparison. It doesn't say match, it says compare. And so if it compares, then I believe it is counted. If it does not compare,
That would be in contradiction to what the state board has stated. And that is our governing advisory body. That,
the word of the
and
law.
everything that we've done, I mean, in the past, based on that information.
I'm telling you, the word of the law is compare, the word of the law is not match. And
Correct.
those two have a distinct meaning.
But there is a reason that exists, comparing those two documents. Because what you don't want is somebody else filling out all that information for someone on the front end, and then just having somebody sign their name and filling out the ballot and then having them mail it in. And that's what that was the whole point of those laws and why they were put into place over decades and decades and decades of reform here in Arkansas. I mean, actually over lost lives trying to get those put into place to prevent that issue, so that you don't have somebody going into these places, filling out all the information, and then they don't know that information because they're not the person, and then basically just having them sign at the end and then submitting the ballot. So that's the reason those laws are in place to prevent that. So that's, and it's unfortunate when you have something that doesn't compare. And one of the reasons that signature becomes a huge issue, you know what I mean? I mean, that's a huge issue. But those other pieces are basic knowledge, things that you know, things that someone else doesn't know. So, and that's how it's been explained to me over and over and over and over again. So consistency is, and we have to be consistent and fair. And if we do it one way one time and different way another time, then we're applying the law differently across.
I'm going to rescind my initialing on here and disagree with you, because I think we should count it, and I think that I will go along with what the county attorney has advised, It's a compare, not a match. Everything else matches. So it's the majority.
Just keep in
Decision.
mind that you need to be consistent.
I will be
with every
consistent. I will be
absentee from here on
consistent.
out. Because then that would be unfair application of the law.
I'm right here telling you I will be consistent.
Because remember, Commissioner Inman, one of the people I learned that from was you.
From where?
From you. Okay, next up.
From where?
From you, Commissioner Inman.
From where?
Remember where we worked on election law reform together? The next one up is Jeremy Ross Foote. Sorry, I'm having a hard time locating the precinct information on this one. Amanda, could you help me out?
I will try. I don't see it. Do you mind?
Not at all. Sorry.
I don't see anything on the envelope that indicates the precinct. I don't know if the
Okay,
materials inside do or not.
I do not have a precinct information at this time. So the issue here is the resident address is not included. This is a Uacaba. It's included on the front of the request. I disagree with this. It's on the front of the request. Sorry, this is coming.
Did they, what did it say here?
It says the residential.
Residential address, not included.
But there's one on the application.
Yes, there is.
And there's,
Oh, he didn't. He's certified that where he's living as opposed to where he is registered. Right?
does he have two, does he have?
Your voting materials are sent to this address. Your mailing address is,
Does he have both the
Alexander.
mailing address on both pieces of information, both
the
pieces?
mailing address
Is it
here.
both places?
Correct.
Is it on both though?
Yes.
Then it compares, because they're on both places.
Yeah, it does.
I just don't understand the issue.
I don't either. So that's why we're
I'm
here.
confused.
That's why we're here. And I'm not sure what this pizza
I don't know what
box-
that is. Maybe it's to make it kind of not be flimsy. So let me kind of go.
Just
over
to
this
add
one with you.
stability.
Okay.
So do you, okay, all right, so this is your call, this is a little bit different. So everything is kind of, they print it out and
Make their own envelopes.
make their own envelopes, so that's probably really a hard piece. So on the front is their request, okay? So they have this information. So, the way the laws were written is that address shall compare. That doesn't specify, that's gonna, obviously that's changed, but we don't have a uniform voter statement. And the address shall compare, the address shall compare. Well, they're stating, I mean, on the green sheet, that the residential address is not listed on the voter statement. Well, that's correct, it's not, but they have listed their physical address. Now, we're not looking at the contents of how this uniform voter statement is written. We're looking at what the law tells us to do. Does the address compare? Well, here's an address, and those compare. So, and then we have the other things, and they compare. So we're good. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. So
I agree.
everyone's good with that?
I agree.
Mhm.
Okay, that's kind of a more complicated one. I guess I'll put the other thing back.
They'll have to recreate that ballot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a couple of more that they're gonna have to do anyway.
We didn't need sticky nothing.
We'll put the yes ones over here,
That
okay?
sounds good.
There you go.
Okay.
And you are indicating on the green sheet, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, we're signing it.
Okay.
I'm gonna
That'd
put a
be
big
good.
yes. So, you can't go wrong.
Okay.
And that's a no, right? You wanna keep the yeses over here?
That's fine.
Do you wanna wait until we go through some more?
Yes, I'd
Okay. Mm-hmm.
rather we complete them before we send them on. Okay, the next one is. Why is this all stuck together? Here we go. They're all different. Collins, Devin, Cockrell Jr., and that is precinct 9901. Okay, the issue here is voter statement signature missing. Okay. Look at a different place. Only issues I don't see talking about ID. All right. Signature is missing, but I'm also not seeing a copy of an ID. Let's see. This reader's awesome.
Well, clearly there is no signature on the voter statement.
Correct.
So,
I'm wondering if we also need to notate there's no ID to be accurate. But they are almost not. So the inner envelope is not been open.
Now, just take a look through. Is that what you're saying?
So I think are they just stopping and not looking past that one issue?
I'm only going to assume so, that they didn't see the voter signature on the statement and just stop right there.
So the question is the envelope supposed to be open after a voting on election day?
I don't think it should be opened if they've already found the issue. It's kind of, that's an absolute without the statement signed by the voter.
But we're not noting the other issues. It's not just one issue. Adam, question. So the inner envelope's not open.
Okay.
Don't see an ID, copy of an ID. They stopped at that issue. There's a missing signature on one of the documents. So they just stopped. They didn't continue and didn't open the inner envelope to see if there was a copy of the ID. So the question is, does the law require the inner envelope to be opened? Period. That's one question. And the second question is, do we need to acknowledge the second issue if there is a missing copy of the ID? For the reasons for the rejection.
I think that person's in the military.
Is that a Unicaba?
This is a Unicaba ballot.
Is it a Unicaba
Does it
ballot?
call it Unicaba?
I didn't look to see if it's a Unicaba. Hold on.
I think it is.
I don't think it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Never mind. Hold that. So let me go back to my first question. Is the inner envelope required to be open?
Let me get back to my statute real quick.
Thank you. I didn't look at that checkbox.
Well, it wouldn't be, I wouldn't think there would be need to it. Well, it's a UCAVA, so it doesn't matter. If you have
It doesn't
an
matter
ID.
on the ID part.
Right.
The question is the inner envelope required to be open after 8:30 a.m. on election day? I just want to make sure there's no requirement that it is open. That I don't know.
So it's Unicaba. Your question is, must the inner envelope be open, period?
Period, correct. Thank you.
I'm going to look at that. If y'all mind, just come back to that.
Sure, we can definitely do that. All right.
And I said check to see if it's UCAVA because I think I know that person.
All right. The next person's Paul Lowell Staggs, precinct 11102. The issue is voter identification documents missing and voter statement missing. Appears to be correct.
That's an easy one. No idea, no birthday. And they did check the inner.
All right. The next one is Gus John Bloss III, and the voting precinct is 106.01.
Now, they didn't give a reason here?
No, it is, so,
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Got it, yes. Okay.
this one is voter identification documents missing, voter statement missing, so identical to the previous.
She's ready whenever.
They have an additional ballot that needs reviewed. Do you mind if I go get that real quick?
Go ahead.
All right.
Thank
I
you.
will return.
Thank you for communicating that.
No problem.
I think we need to mark it for ourselves down here as well, because we're making that final conclusion.
Yeah, I figured we would go back and do that when we're going through all of them and making the final tally. Thank
I
you.
think that would be very helpful
Mm-hmm.
for the people that are recording the stats.
I agree. All right. Okay. Rebecca Brown Glass, voting precinct 106.01. Voter identification documents missing, voter statement missing. Oh, sorry, I didn't do that. Just keep that note so you can get it.
It's okay for me to go ahead and write no on here?
I'm gonna do that at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, you can write no,
Okay.
yes.
And you're gonna, okay.
I'm gonna do it at the end and information. Once we get to, then I start clicking. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Adam, does B1, 75416B1C, does that contain our answer?
416,
Yeah. 75-416B1C. Just wondering if that might have the answer.
if the required materials are not properly placed in the outer ballot envelope, a second election official shall open the inner envelope to verify the contents.
No, because there was no missing required
Okay.
materials. Sorry, speaking for you, but
But you said the missing material was the voter's identification?
no, because as a UACABA, there's nothing missing. The
For-
question is does the inner envelope have to be open on after a 30 a.m. election day? Or can it be left? I don't think.
Well, I mean, you get a lot of ballots that are approved without issue that it's not opened until it's ready for tabulation. So this specifies that when you don't have all the materials needed to determine the qualification of a voter or eligibility for participation or validity of the ballot, that's coming from that voter, then you open the inner envelope to check and see if the inner envelope contains the materials you need to determine eligibility.
So
So what information are you lacking?
I'm not lacking any information. That's my question. It seems silent on do we have to open the inner envelope?
You don't have to open the inner envelope until it's ready to be tabulated if you don't have to open the inner envelope.
If it doesn't have to be tabulated, we don't have to open the inner envelope. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that if you have the materials in the outer envelope to determine the qualification and eligibility of the voter, you don't have to open the inner envelope to look for something that may or may not exist.
Okay, thank you. Now I forgot this. Oh, this is the signature missing. Okay, I forgot what this one is. Yeah. All right.
Voter statement and signature missing.
Jared Davis, precinct 8001. The issue here is the voter identification documents are missing.
She's an absentee candidate.
Okay.
It's probably just an accident. Maybe she meant
It's
here.
just on there. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Right. We did have a poll watcher, but that was not her.
Right. That's good. The poll worker just signed the poll watcher challenge. I just didn't know what was going on there. So I'll double check. All right. So the issue again is the voter identification documents are missing. I'll double check. Okay, let you don't see them. I'm gonna hand this to you like this so that you can go.
Okay. Hello.
I know you, but I'm so bad with names.
Back in there.
I couldn't even see it with my glasses on. Like, I see a person, like a shadowy figure. Thank you. Good. Voter ID documents missing. All right. What are you stack? It's not looking good. Okay, Barbara A. Reichler, voting precinct 67.01. All right. So the issue here is voter identification documents missing. And last time we had something like literally stuck to the email. Thank you for getting that in reference. Is this the same name? As well as
Isn't it? Yes.
Oh, this is training.
Wrong signature line
Sign
again.
there. Thank you. Please don't sign right there.
Well, they worked really well together. It was very, very efficient, all things considered. Wasn't not quite the craziness it was back in.
My new set was wrong because they didn't check the box. It was like,
Yeah.
okay. Eleanor J. Turner, voting precinct 11901. And the issue here is voter identification documents missing.
I'm gonna roll over here.
did. Maybe she called on.
She caught it.
Or maybe Jill called her and was like, hey, wrong one.
We can open that door box. That would be hot.
You did not.
It was cold a minute ago.
My hands are cold, but I'm hot. All right. The next one is Aria Yvonne Graves, voting precinct 114.01. The issue is voter identification documents missing. Next one is Carrie C. Masterson, voting precinct 85.03. Issue is voter identification documents missing.
Do I need to shut the door again?
What's your name, McKinnon? The next one is Dorothy Irene Morey. Voting precinct 85.03. The issue is some voter identification documents missing.
So the people are complaining that the sound from the recorder is overriding the caller saying on YouTube, so.
Okay, you can shut the door back.
Okay, I just wanted to.
I mean, people are
The
listening.
fact that people are watching us, I
No
really
kidding.
do appreciate it.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you. We're sorry about that.
Is it hot or cold?
I think we're
It
fine at the
runs
moment.
both ways.
You know,
Right.
it's just, it doesn't matter.
Depends on which one of us is having
We'll
something.
change in 5 minutes.
Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold.
Beverly G. Davis, voting precinct 71.01. The issue, voter identification documents missing.
think I should say into the microphone whether I agree or not, so we can just have it all on the record? Or just that we concur?
I will go through each one
Okay.
and then announce them.
Okay,
That's why I was holding off to the end,
okay.
so they're not, you know. And then the top one. I'm sorry, I need to
It's
sign
fine,
that.
that's fine.
I gotta sign
It's just as easy to walk over. Oh yeah, I didn't give it to you to sign off. I'm sorry. Sorry about
That's
that.
okay, here you go. All right, the next one is Leslie Scott, voting precinct 88.01. The issue is voter identification documents missing. Next one is Betty Combs Moore, voting precinct 95.02. The issue is voter identification documents missing.
The tabulator yet, or wait until do them all at once? Yeah, the ones you'll still have.
Okay, this one is different.
Okay, just do them all at once. Mhm.
Says voter, I'm sorry, let me go to the name first. Alan Dexter Drew, voting precinct 58.02. The issue they've checked is voter identification documents missing. However, this is a federal postcard application. This is a U.S. common voter. So we are not looking for missing voter identification documents.
Here.
You see another one on there?
Physical address, Aldersgate. That's not on here
I
anyway.
can't see it. I didn't see it anywhere.
And the return address is APO. Nothing matches on the address, either this Strong Ridge Circle or the Aldersgate. It's not on here anywhere. And that's the application. So I sadly say it doesn't compare.
Yeah, it doesn't
I didn't mark it on the sheet.
matter. Oh, okay. So we're not looking, this is if you're a common voter, so we're not looking for a copy identification. What we're looking for instead is now we're comparing just the voter registration absentee ballot request to the absentee voter statement. Actually, absentee canvassers do a really good job.
Yeah, they really are.
This one would be a no.
Correct. They're two different addresses completely. Okay. Okay. Name Thomas Cephalon Gay, voting precinct 106.01. The issue noted here is voter registration document is missing, so now you're a cover voter. Did double check and make sure none of the other ones were.
He's already checked out.
Okay. One more. Alright. Our last one, of regular absentees, this is Foster Harrison Rogers, voting precinct 60.01. The issue noted, unable to read absent application. Okay.
So that's what the clerk's office printed out for us.
So, in this instance, I think,
Recording.
yeah,
Amanda, could you take the place at clerk's office to print us a better application, please?
I sure can.
Thank you.
What's the voter's name again?
The voter's name is Foster Harrison Rogers.
And I might add, if they can't print off a better copy, they could bring the actual document here and we could compare it.
Okay, I'll be right back.
This seems to be redone.
Are we finished with absentee ballots?
No, we've got one we're checking on, an additional check. Because we're thorough.
Love it, love to hear it.
wondered what you were doing over there.
I was going through the different types and then writing on the end.
Do you want me just to count them?
Yeah, just to verify the number. Perfect. Thank you.
And then the one that's going to be counted.
Yep.
We just got an email from Amanda
Mm-hmm.
in the Outlook with a list. It says late absentee, and I'm asking what that means. How can they be late? Polls haven't closed yet. Unless that's the ones that they reviewed back there.
So why did that happen?
He said it was very light when it came in and he had to scan it in and darken it.
Can we attach this to that so we're not? Will you just take that and attach that, please?
Certainly.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
All right. Foster Harrison Rogers, voting precinct 60.01. Not you a comment. And issue here, unable to read application, which is no longer an issue. So we're just going to verify the information. Copy of an ID. sorry. Something was written on here and it confused me for a second. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's so tiny.
Amanda, that list that we just received, what was that a list of?
I didn't have a chance to actually look it over real quick, but I know it was absentee.
It said late. It said late. And it didn't make sense to me. Was that the package that came over, recently, that they just finished?
Let me see. So they sent over the list of rejected applications and an Excel spreadsheet listing the reasons why.
Well, what we just received was just said late.
Let me see. The absentee statistics.
Is that what that was? Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, absentee issues list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a list of the ones that they did not send a ballot to, and they list in that spreadsheet why they did not do that.
This small little list.
I wonder why they didn't fill in the rejections number. They didn't put the rejections number in there.
Oh, now that I pull it up, I'm like, it is a little list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't understand what that's about.
I'll have to get some clarification from the clerk's office. I'm thinking those.
And why they're sending them to us.
Yeah.
I don't want
Okay. I've included the applications for absentee ballots who were not sent a ballot in a spreadsheet showing the reason why. They were all received after the application deadline, which was September 7th, 2021. So those applications were late.
But
So
why would we get this?
I don't know if that's some new required thing they're supposed to, so they sent it over and I just forwarded it to you guys for informational purposes. I don't know if
It only
that's.
confuses us.
Yeah, that's not the law.
Okay.
They need to explain that to the voters.
There's a law on purporting numbers of
The-
provisional
right.
laws, stuff like that, but there's not.
Right.
I don't want any extra things that we have to keep.
Right.
Well,
I appreciate it, but I don't think,
When it said absentee statistics, I was like, okay, I'm gonna forward that on because I'm assuming one of these reports is the updated.
I was just curious about C, and now on C, it says number of absentee ballots rejected, and reason for rejection. It doesn't list the number of absentee ballots rejected. It just says C attachment.
Let me see.
Unable to read it.
Okay, it's in that little Word document that's attached. Number of absentee
It's hard to
ballot
read. It's hard to
applications
read on your phone.
received, number sent. They rejected 5 absentee ballots.
Well, I see everything is proper on this one. And I recommend it should be counted.
Agreed.
Yes, I agree. I was confused by the upside down voter ID there for a second. I remembered.
Oh,
What
that's
it's like to
because.
be under
that's-
21.
Exactly.
Yes, we didn't have that.
We
one.
didn't have that either. I was so confused.
That's how old we
Like,
are.
why is
so-
this sideways?
We're too old for that.
You shush. I will throw something. Out of love.
Pure love, I'm sure.
Yay, we get a yes.
Yay.
All right. I don't think which was a sign for yes, but we will.
So we have 2 yeses that can be processed.
2
Well,
yeses.
that's how we know they really did a good job.
We did a good job.
Because.
So that would be
they-
16 not
Well, I
counting.
was about to give you those statistics.
I'm sorry.
Lady.
Jumping the gun here, I'm
Trying to
sorry.
jump the boat.
And the 2 yeses.
And
Right.
okay, so I was gonna give you the statistics, so we had some kind of information. So we had 2 yeses and we had 16 noes, and from those 16 noes, 15 were unanimous by the board. 1 was a vote of 2-1, and the 1 no vote on the no was Commissioner Inman. So I want to give some breakdown of what those statistics look like, so you know what the no's were. 1 no was for the comparison of the date of birth, and that was based on the year was difference based on the current year versus the actual birth year. And the no vote, the no vote wanting a yes was actually Commissioner Inman on that one. 3 of the no votes were for missing copies of IDs and missing voter statements. 1 was a signature comparison issue, and it wasn't an issue of the signatures not comparing, it was an issue if there was a missing signature. So we couldn't compare it because we didn't have it. We had 10 issues of missing copies of identification, and we had 1 issue of an address that did not compare. And again, it wasn't an issue of a street name or a number, it was an issue of completely different addresses. So I just kind of want to give that information. So do we need to make a motion?
May I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
With respect to those individuals who voted or who supplied their information but did not provide their identification, will those be identified as provisionals so that those individuals may be made aware that they have until the deadline to produce their identifying documents?
Correct. They would be notified, yes.
Good,
So they
thank
would,
you.
yes, so they're, yes. Yes. So do we need to make a motion, or are we?
I am not sure.
I think
on
we're
that
just
one.
good
I
'cause
don't
it's
think
just
you just
review.
review. I don't
Okay,
think there's
alright.
anything to do a motion on.
Awesome. So, do you want us to separate out the, just the voter identification issues?
You can.
Okay, we'll do that.
And they'll be notified tomorrow, or initiate that
Right.
process tomorrow.
I
And
will
wanna make
initiate
sure
the
that
process
we don't
tomorrow, yes.
just send them a mail-in piece, but we also call them.
Okay.
Correct?
As far as I know, in the past, we've only sent them a letter, but,
So if we can try to call them as well, if they have a phone number on file.
okay.
And if they even have an email on file, we can also email them. any issues with things getting mixed up?
Right.
Okay. How shall we,
We're going to place those no's in this box.
okay.
I'm going to hand deliver the yeses to the canvassers who are awaiting.
So these are the no's, will you please verify?
Yes.
Those are the no's.
These are the no's.
Okay. All right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Correct.
So,
Yes, make sure that's right. 2, 4, 5, 6, there should be 6, hold on, I'm not sure.
she didn't stick to
Okay, because there's 10, that's why I did that, so they'll be separate. Okay, so there's 6. All
6.
right, so now what are you doing?
So now, I'm going to put those in a different direction.
In the same box?
You want me to put them in a different
I do
box?
not want those in that box, no.
Okay.
Don't you think that's a wise idea not to mix those two?
I'm sorry, it was,
To not put these provisionals in
oh,
the same
no.
box?
No, you do not want them in there, because those can
Those are a
be
different box, so we don't-
cured.
Yeah, we need to go ahead and label that box. Yeah, we don't want those to be mixed up. Okay.
Well, that, no, you certainly don't want them in there.
Right.
These are absentee no count.
Correct.
Okay.
And you need to.
I will go get another
initial,
box.
All that kind of stuff. Yes, all right.
And those are going to be made provisional.
These are going to be made provisional, and these are the contacts, the ones that have to be contacted.
Correct.
Okay, so
Could-
that
could-
spreadsheet need to be made.
Right.
Yeah, could
They will be added
you,
to
I
the
mean, do you
spreadsheet.
need the box for those, or could you just not put them in a big envelope and label?
These we put a big envelope to see who's made secure.
Right. I can go to security now if you like. You want me to bring a box in here to put them in, or?
Let's put those up first.
Oh, well.
We'll come back for these. Thank
Sure.
you. Just to keep them safe. It looks like we're ready to take a break.
I just got a text from a friend voting and said her roommate, the machine errored out when she cast her ballot. I'm like, what?
What location was that?
I don't know where it was. Says, I asked her, did she get her vote counted? And she says, no, it stopped my ballot and hers popped up at the error.
Hmm.
So they're shutting the machine down now. Okay. They'll get your ballot counted.
the ones to be counted, if you don't mind, I will put them in here and carry them back to the canvasser.
Okay.
Okay? And I have 2 that are going in here.
Yes, 2.
Carry that back there right now.
Do you want to go so you can see it?
Put them in reserve, and then I'll come back and retrieve those.
Oh, yeah.
We'll guard them with our lives.
All right. You're on camera now.
I'm hungry.
Me too. We can take a break when we get this finalized. Oh, yeah, you did.
I thought he might have stopped at the restroom.
Do you want
I had to answer a question real quick, so he may have.
Do you have an envelope?
No. Hold on. Let me go grab one real quick.
Almost.
We're still on. I'm gonna go get a big envelope, put those ballots in real quick.
Yes, so there are 10 of these. 10 no ID
Okay.
provisionals for these. 9, 14, 21 special.
I'm taking 10 absentee provisionals from you with no ID. Right, this envelope.
You need to show them.
I know, I should, don't carry, want me to carry a Sharpie in the meeting. But that's my added list of supplies to carry.
Sharpie, ribbon,
Absentee provisionals.
okay, backpack.
And I do have a backpack. I'll load it up, and I'll bring it in here.
Okay.
Yeah. No Mountain Dew, by the way.
Maybe.
14. Provisionals, 9, these are no ID. Gotcha.
Sounds good. And we're gonna lock it into what?
This, we were gonna log into the server room where we tabulate,
Okay,
and then in the morning, I will go retrieve those, take them to my office, make the list,
okay.
send out email, letter, phone call,
And then put them back.
and then I will put them back in there and lock them up.
Fantastic.
We've received 7 provisional ballots from early voting. I've typed up that list today. Those will also be locked up in the server room.
Okay. What's our reporting requirement on provisionals?
On provisionals, I believe you just have to report the number,
Okay.
but I think that's only on federal elections, general and provisionals, general and primaries.
Let me double check. What about do the copper reporting?
I believe that's the same thing,
Okay.
because those are numbers we normally report to the state after a general or
There's
primary.
No other reporting that I'm gonna double check as I have all those acts hyperlinked in a document. Surprisingly, no. Let's see here.
Might I excuse myself for a moment?
Go ahead. We're gonna be taking a recess here soon. Go ahead. No problem. Okay, 10:22. Open, back to 10:22. That one, okay. Okay. 75906. Can we pull up 75906? To see what election that affects? Just to make sure it's not this one.
You said 7.5,
75906.
106 or 9?
906.
906.
It says for each election.
7.5.
75906.
7.
Did I say 79506? 75.
It's all running together now.
You said 7.5906, although in the last printed book, it stops at 9:05.
Okay, so it's a new section. My
Yeah, it's a new
apologies.
section.
Okay, so under check.
You want me to read it?
So we looked it up. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. But what's the,
So, my question is, under the new law that requires the reporting of provisional ballot and rejected ballots, I just want to make sure that applies to every election or only certain elections. But the way I'm reading it, it does say for each election. So is there a reporting requirement that we have this evening?
so the county board of election commissioners, this is part A,
Okay,
shall prepare a report of provisional and rejected ballots in the county for each election period. That's it.
that's it.
That's the whole section. So,
So is that election night or with certification?
I'm looking to see if there's anything else in here.
You did not vote. Did I miss anything?
I don't think we've received that template yet either from the state board.
I haven't seen one.
So it includes in the information required, the number of provisional ballots not counted in the election, which would seem to indicate that y'all would have to wait to submit the report until after the results are certified. So it does say the report of provisional ballots and rejected ballots cast for each election shall be submitted by the county board of election commissioners to the state board within 30 days of every election. So 30 days from today, but after you've certified. So you have to identify. You have to have the numbers for you.
Okay, so we need to keep that in mind,
Mm-hmm.
that we need to keep up that information, get a spreadsheet together. Okay. Let's put that on. Thank you. Alright. So we can recess until what time do you think? How's it looking? It's not 7:30 yet.
Right, it's not 7:30 yet, so it would be hard to tell until polls start closing,
Okay.
if there are any issues or not. So,
So what time do you want us back here?
I would recommend probably 8:30.
8:30? Everybody good with that? It does
That's
sound good?
when returns should start coming in, anywhere between 8:30 and 9 typically.
So 8:30 or 9?
At 8:30, I think.
8:30?
And you will release the absentee and early votes at 7:30.
Mhm.
But they're just gonna be released unless you want to
Unless you want to.
announce them, and they'll be released.
Let's do
public.
8:45 and split. How about that?
That's fine.
That sounds good. I'm like weighing, should I drive all the way on camera right now? Let's do 8:45. So we're not in here. Okay, all right. So we will recess and come back at 8:45 p.m. We're recessed. All right. Jody, something, can you pause?
Yes.
Thank you.